Ever since Nintendo announced the remake of Link's Awakening, I've been thinking a lot about the Legend of Zelda franchise. It's a series I grew up with, and while it's always been popular, the last few years have been particularly really great for it, thanks in no small part to, of course, the Switch and Breath of the Wild. So with a classic like Link's Awakening coming back, I gotta think, what's after that? If you've played Link's Awakening before, you'll know that it's kind of one of the weirder entries in the Zelda franchise, in a really good way. It's an amazing, excellent game. So for Nintendo to actually pull all the way back to that title and bring it back in this really, honestly, I think super cool art style, even though I know some people are kind of more about it, it's a really cool move. And I think it's also pointing toward this trend with Nintendo where I think we're going to see a Zelda game every year, at least depending on what you count as a Zelda game. I mean, let's look at the years so far. So in 2017, when the Switch first came out, we of course got Breath of the Wild. Big, main entry Zelda title, huge, lots of stuff to do, great, awesome. A year after that in Japan, and a couple months later in the US, we get a port of Hyrule Warriors. Sure, that's a crossover with another series, and it's not exactly a normal Zelda game, but it's still a Zelda game. And now, later this year, we're gonna see Link's Awakening. One a year so far. I think if you take a look at what games they've released so far and just the full history of the Zelda franchise and what they've done, I think there's kind of a pattern you can see coming with future releases. This year we're getting a remake, and next year I'm willing to bet we're going to see some kind of port. What that port's going to be, I don't know, because they have plenty of options to choose from. They've already ported Twilight Princess and Wind Waker to HD back on the Wii U. They could bring those back again. Skyward Sword could certainly use a better version and remake. And there's of course the N64 classics Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, which run 3DS, but could get cleaned up even further for the Switch. This allows Nintendo to have this really cool flow with the franchise where basically every other year we're having some kind of biggish main entry or at least an interesting take like with the Link's Awakening remake, or we just have the return of a classic that we can now play on the go. And sure, a lot of these games we've all played before, but they're good games and having them handheld would be awesome. All of my oldest memories in gaming have to do with the Legend of Zelda series. I grew up in a Nintendo household. My older brother had an NES, and while I wasn't exactly good at the game yet, I did try playing the original game. We never actually had Legend of Zelda 2 in the house, but as I got older and more games started coming out, like Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, I started being able to actually, play through them properly, and it's just a series that's always really resonated with me. I've done my best to really keep up with most of it. I've played all the big mainline ones, like I mentioned earlier, through the N64, and after that going into Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, which was a little more rough, but then also a lot of the handhelds. In fact, honestly, some of my absolute favorites in the series go to the older Game Boy ones, with Link's Awakening, again, super excited to have a new version of that come out, the Oracle games, which are so good. I actually did skip out on some of the DS titles that were based on Wind Waker. I started them and just didn't click for whatever reason, but I did go back for Link Between Worlds, which is one of the top ones for me. I admit I have a bit of a soft spot for the more classical style. I really like the 3D adventure stuff that happens. Ocarina of Time is a big deal, I get it, but there's something about that classic top-down feeling where your imagination plays with you a little bit more, and I just love it. I think there's something really to be said for how the series has kind of done the same concept over and over again, but has done it so well. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are different. Obviously, Breath of the Wild remixed things really heavily, and there was the leap from the 2D games to the 3D, but the very basic core concept has always been the same. You start off as that young kid who doesn't really know what he's doing yet. You start amassing different items and leveling up, getting more hearts, exploring and getting stronger until eventually you can destroy the big bad guy and save the princess. It's one of the oldest stories, not just in gaming, but just oldest stories in general. But there's something about the way the Zelda franchise is one of the earliest games to do it and just continue to do it so well. I admit that part of this is definitely nostalgia. I mean, again, this is one of the oldest franchises to use this formula, but they keep doing it right. And after how well Breath of the Wild just basically brought a breath of fresh air to the entire series, I'm just really curious to see where they're going to take it next. It was also just such a huge game during my childhood that it was pretty much impossible to find someone who wasn't a fan of that series in one form or another. I mean, whether it was someone who loved Link to the Past while they were younger, or were actively playing Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, it was just that game that everyone knew. There's a lot of places Nintendo could take the Zelda franchise in the next couple of years, and using what we've seen so far as a blueprint, I've got a couple of different ideas. I think 2020, we're going to see some kind of port, whether that's multiple games from past generations, or maybe just a single one. Probably Skyward Sword, especially if they made some light adjustments to make it a little friendlier and not quite overbearing you with tutorials every 5 seconds. But after that is the really interesting question, because if you look at how often big mainline titles come out, it's usually about 5 years. With how well Breath of the Wild did, they could be trying to rush one a little sooner, maybe have one come out in 2021, but I really doubt it. I think we're not seeing another big mainline entry till probably 22. So what's in between those? Well, with the games we have so far, Zelda's kind of a big franchise, and there's a lot of different styles of games within that. We've got the big 3D ones, we've got the old school classical top-down ones, you have the ones that are kind of genre-bending, and one that we haven't seen quite yet on the Switch that I think would be a perfect fit is a Four Swords style adventure. I mean, really, think about it. The whole point of the Switch is that it's a handheld portable that allows you to also easily share controllers with other people and make multiplayer happen anywhere. So the concept of Four Swords, where it's just multiple links working together to solve different problems, fits really great. Now, given that particular type of Zelda game doesn't have the best history lately because the latest one on 3DS wasn't quite as good, but if it was given the right love and attention, I think a really good one on the Switch would be a perfect fit. And after that, of course, would be another mainline Zelda, and what is that going to be like? I honestly have no idea. Breath of the Wild was amazing, and while I would certainly love to have another game in that same vein, I don't necessarily know if that's how they're going to take it. They might want to focus on a more traditional route, or do something entirely different all over again, because remixing has certainly worked out in their favor. Whatever it is, though, I'm definitely going to play it. So, we rolling? Okay. Oh, are we actually recording? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought we cut or something. Okay. Hi, guys. Hey, that was a weird, awkward, long pause.